Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFirio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. These are short format episodes where we are just kind of chatting about things that are very topical, giving some insights and inspiration the way we do on the show in about 10, 15 minutes. And lately I've been getting kind of long-winded with these things, so I'm trying to tamp it down a little bit, but hope you're enjoying it. But today's episode of Shift Break is brought to you by La Marzocco. La Marzocco is the quintessential espresso machine for the coffee industry. They've been around since 1927. They still make those machines by hand in Florence, Italy, and they're second to none. Their machines are beautiful, dependable, innovative, and it's a perfect trifecta of qualities you want in something that your business relies upon every single day to serve your customers. So whether you're getting the KB90 espresso machine with a straight in locking portafilters and scales in the drip tray, or you're getting the Leva where you can actually pull shots of espresso the way that, old school espresso, baristas did, or you can get the classic Linea or the Linea PB. But there's something at LaMarzoccoUSA.com where you should go to suit your needs. So again, LaMarzoccoUSA.com or info at LaMarzoccoUSA.com, and their salespeople will help you get the right machine for your cafe. I love them. I've been working on their machines for quite a long time. Highly recommend you check it out, LaMarzoccoUSA.com. And today's episode is also brought to you by Rattleware. You can check their website out, rattleware.com. And if you're looking for smallwares that just work, created by people who have been in the industry for quite a long time. I mean, they've been serving the industry at Rattleware. I mean, I have some pretty old pictures from Rattleware, and they are still doing that work. Now, you might not have heard of Rattleware, especially if you're just getting into the coffee industry, but it's kind of what they like. I mean, they want you to know about them, but they like to be in the background supporting your business, supporting you through the things that you don't sometimes notice until they break. You want to use a pitcher, a whisk, a shot glass, and all that fun stuff, that smallwares, and just not have to think about it, okay? And that's what they do. They make stuff that works at Rattleware. So if you're looking for smallwares for your cafe, you got those really big pieces in place, but you need to fill in all of the other parts of it, go ahead and check out rattleware.com. Now, today's episode, I want to talk about something that is inspired by the book Shopkeeping. And I have the book, I'm kind of turning around right here in my office, and the book by Peter Miller, architectural bookstore. And of course, if you've read the book, you know that the bookstore actually sells more than just books. It also sells like pencils and pens and paper and wine glasses, apparently. But this was gifted to me by Armin over at Arto Brick at arto.com. And the shopkeeping book, I told you in the last episode we did, main episode was about 5 non-coffee books that I recommend. But what I love about this is it slows me down to think about the details of a space. And I think that's the message today is we lose sight of the fact that our space is itself a product. It is a stage on which an experience takes place, and every little detail deserves our focus. It deserves our attention. And there are parts of the business that you can't just like wring your hands over and zero in on at every single moment. Some things just need to operate in the periphery and in the background, but they still need to be attended to. So your cafe, if it's like any other cafe out there, there are some things that are going to be left undone or little details that were overlooked. There's that corner that has all the cobwebs in it. It has, just the paper cup lid that nobody seems to want to get because they're really tired and we just kind of walk by it. We mean to do it, but we don't actually do it. And that is the kind of decision that paves the road for other types of compromises. It's kind of like that whole idea of if you're the type of person who doesn't return the shopping cart to the corral where the shopping carts go, you're likely the kind of person that is pretty low in integrity. That's kind of my opinion, I would say. I'm sorry if you're the person who is just like, you know what, totally love not returning shopping carts. Um, but to me, that's the same kind of mentality that says this customer will never know the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. So I'm just going to put the syrup and sauce in it. I'm going to send it out. I'm going to send subpar work because nobody's going to notice. Now, the definition of integrity is that you act on your convictions even when there's no perceived reward, which is why the shopping cart quote unquote test works so well, because it's a you don't get a reward for doing it. It's just practicing an aspect of identity that it will make it easier for you to do that same kind of a thing with your relationships, with things that you do care about. It will lessen the resistance that you have to things that are inconvenient but helpful later on. So, with the cafe, with the actual physical space, it is really important for us to take very good care of it as a way of taking care of people. So it's the same kind of thing when it comes to your staff. For example, I've said to many people before, the schedule, like putting out the schedule, is like one of these, it's a test basically to see if you're paying really good attention to the boundaries set forth by the baristas, respecting the dates they can't work and their availability. We're not going to talk about the whole thing about how baristas change their availability seemingly immediately as soon as we start scheduling them. That's a whole nother thing. But as far as it depends upon you, you can and should be saying, okay, this barista can work here and there and there. But sometimes when we are in the midst of trying to get that whole schedule to work for the business, we forget to check the details about the people. And we just kind of put the people in the places we need people, but we don't go the extra mile, or at least it wouldn't even be the extra mile. We just don't do our due diligence to make sure that that's not something that was previously communicated to us is not in their availability and not in their window. And then they have to call their manager and be like, hey, I had requested that I don't work Wednesday afternoons and I was just scheduled Wednesday afternoon. And it's the result of a really harried owner or manager. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I'm sorry. So we have these little moments where, because of our haste and our lack of intention, we're creating an environment where people are uncertain. And that environment is a space. So the reason I bring this up is because I think it's related to how we take care of the cafe. If we disregard the basic needs of our cafe patrons to be at a table that's not sticky and wobbly, to have a stocked condiment bar and a functional bathroom, to have windows that are clear and clean, to have colors and textures that are well chosen and work to create a mood and an ambiance that's helpful for their enjoyment of our coffee. If we discount those things, we don't have a lot of room to complain about how people aren't as enthused about what we've created, because frankly, we weren't that enthused either in what we created. We were just trying to create it as fast as we can, step back and see if the magic happens. But that it doesn't happen unless you've actually planned it out well, you've been intentional, and you've kept the shop. And that is part of what you do, is physically making sure that the place doesn't fall into disrepair. I mean, I've worked in some shops where they've gone a decade or more without even doing so much as painting or cleaning different corners of the cafe where it was obvious there was this patina of just grime and dust. It was just collecting into these dust balls and mixed with coffee and stuff. Why is that not taken care of? Because we don't view that as important. But the customer who sits in the midst of that space does think that that's important, even if they don't mentally tell themselves to look there and that means this and this means that. It does get noticed. The eyeballs take it in, your senses take it in, and we have to be people that are concerned about keeping shop. And I guess this falls into the category of things that you can think about for the new year. And how you can step up your game to take care of the cafe. But keeping the shop is about keeping promises to people and being a good host and showing hospitality to people. We clean, we prepare, we curate an experience for them through ourselves, through our menu, the way when you're doing a dinner, if you're at a high-end restaurant, when people spend a lot of money, they want to remove as many impediments to enjoyment as possible. So even the weight and balance of a fork, the is it a matte finish? Is it a clear finish? You'd be surprised at how 100 tiny little things, when they are well chosen and placed, create together a singular experience. And it's done in these fine dining environments because they're paying hundreds of dollars for one meal per person. And it's easy for us to discount this because we're just slinging spro, man. We're just like making lattes, and we're just organic, and we're independent, and we're quirky, and all that other stuff that can be a euphemism for sloppy, lazy, not aware, undisciplined, no follow through, and unintentional, and hopeful about getting a reward for not a lot of intentional effort in the beginning. So, and I don't mean that to sound too harsh, but I want you to realize that that's easy for us to do because the coffee shop is not a fine dining establishment. It's not so easy for us to focus our attentions on these small things in the cafe because realistically, you look at the numbers, it's not that bad. We can get away with some pretty average places and pretty average drinks, and still, if people keep coming, we calm ourselves down. If we ever get excited about this, we just or worried, we're like, well, people are still coming, no one's complaining, and I think that's good, and so we just don't do anything. Well, you can't rely on people complaining the same way as you can't wait till you're thirsty to be hydrated, because by then you're already dehydrated. It's too late. By the time you get there, it's too late. So you have to, in the same way, be preemptive in your maintenance of, and your care for, and curation and refinement of the space. Keep the shop, make it beautiful, make it functional, and especially if you're thinking about opening a second store, at least spend a little time to fix the things and refine the experience of your first one before you start making everyone jealous about all that, the blinged out bar and really functional, more space and all this stuff. Everyone wants to work on the second one because we got it right. It kind of feels like, firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn type of situation. But this is what I was thinking about and wanted to share with you. That bookshop keeping is a great thing to think about reading, but more so, I would invite you to try to take a fresh look at your space. Take a fresh look at how you are keeping the shop as a part of your identity, and it's not something that you should be just setting and forgetting and saying, well, it's functional until it's broken and we'll fix it when it's broken. Let's do better than that, because coffee is getting more expensive, as it should, and we should be providing that experience for customers that goes above and beyond the expectations that they have of a coffee shop. It'll make you feel more proud of what you've created, and it'll create more momentum for your brand. And I think that's all very good. So keep the shop. Let's be about it. And I hope that this was helpful for you. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me, chris@keystotheshop.com, and follow on Instagram @keystotheshop, and all that fun stuff. So thanks everyone for your support, and I will see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.